It's fair to say there's been a bit of a shift in the messaging from Newcastle over the past 48/24 hours. Obviously, Isak has returned to the training ground, and there have been clearly some conversations between the club and the player. I think there would have been a dialogue anyway, and whether that dialogue was healthy or not is probably we'll never know. But journalists have begun to change the things that they're saying. Sources have begun to change the things that they're saying. And I think we're in a pretty critical period now in the saga of the Alexander Isak trade, purchase, transfer, whatever you want to call it. It does feel more like a trade because there is a chain of what needs to happen here. Liverpool might not need to sell Darwin Núñez, but we certainly are looking at that, and that probably will be some of the funds that would go towards an Alexander Isak transfer, but that's not what this hinges on. What this hinges on is Newcastle feeling that they'd be left with nothing, because they would be left, apart from with the huge amount of cash in their bank account, with a real hole of the shape of a striker, and Anthony Gordon can't step in there. I think they actually started last season and they played I think this was on the Craig stats, where it was they played 4 games at the start of last season and Isak wasn't playing. In that time, Anthony played false 9 and scored 0 goals or assisted very little in that time. They just don't have another striker option at the moment. And Vissa, as good as he is, would certainly feel like an underwhelming downgrade from what most people are considering to be one of the most prolific strikers in the league at the moment. Not the most prolific, because that guy obviously plays for Man City, but one of the most prolific strikers. Before you get on me, no, Salah's not a striker. He is an all-time great, and he should be referred to as such. But this is, if Liverpool were to pull this off, it would be pretty generational. And when I say generational, I mean it would be all time. Because the resistance to this, not only from Newcastle, but just the general Premier League community, the football community, there's always going to be a resistance. Big money is kind of gauche. It's a little bit gaudy. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't feel nice. And even in the Liverpool community, I think there's always been a resistance to spending huge amounts of cash in that modern era. Not reasonable, huge amounts of cash. And yes, we've spent big, and I'm sure there are times where we've shocked or people have tried to use those stats. But Isak is a big striker, and frankly, with the striker market the way that it is, it's one of those positions where you really either invest in a good one or you take a bit of a punt, and it's like, hey, 10 million here, 10 million there, who really cares? But in getting and moving on Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez this summer, in working out that Federico Chiesa will play 1 in every 10 games, and working out that Mo Salah is still one of the most prolific strikers of all time, despite missing a penalty at Anfield, and obviously that Cody Gakpo and Ekitike are young, brilliant, probably developing into some of their best years type talents, we still need another person. And Liverpool's market approach is always only go for the best. Don't go for someone who's coming into their prime or possibly has a higher seat. Go for the best. And that's Alexander Isak. And, the point has been made now over and over again on this channel, and we made it a very long time ago on this channel. I'm talking like months ago. If we are going to go for these kind of guys, it's got to be a unique market opportunity, because competing against Barca and other people is only going to push the price out of the range that Liverpool's stats guys realistically are going to want to spend. And we have to see that upside. We have to see that there is a stark benefit to a lot of what it is that we're going to see. But the style, the change, and the change in approach is really catching people on the back foot. And I think what we have done is caught a few people cold this summer. People who thought, well, Isak will be available next summer. Maybe he still will, by the way. Or, Viats, well, Man City will get him or buy it. Cold. Frimpong came in for a guy who, frankly, we thought caught us cold. But no, good, that's excellent. We've got another guy to come in at right back. Thank you. Connor, come and get a new contract. Left side, Andy, this has been great. Stick around, do some tutoring. Kostas, you've also been very good. Let's see what happens. There are new roles to be fulfilled within this team, and with the rotation throughout the side, having a linchpin at the front in Alexander Isak, or someone you can rotate with Ekitike, or someone you can rotate with Gakpo, or someone rotate with Salah, whoever, is pretty prolific. And it's clear that Liverpool have put all their eggs in this basket. Maybe there is a Rodrigo-shaped basket somewhere, but he's not the striker that we're looking at. That would change our system fundamentally. And again, it's part of the benefit of getting on a slot in. It's not like he's gone, this guy or nothing. Obviously, Isak is an option A, but it is very much, well, if we get this guy, here's how we'll go play. And if we get Rodrigo, here's how we'll go play. But Liverpool go Premier League proven. They go Premier League pedigree. And there's something satisfying about that. So, in the coming days, when we see Newcastle bid for Sesko, again, when they up their bid again, because RB Leipzig clearly have a preference, remember how much this hinges on Manchester United not getting Sesko. And I'll be interested to see how Manchester United look to mix things up in that market and just throw a spanner in the works. Just in terms of that transfer, it's not even about that they're not going to spend 80 million to try to mess Liverpool up, because I don't think that 80 million even goes a tenth of the way of that 80 million spent in messing Liverpool up. Equally, I think that we're so far down the road now with the way that Isak's relationship has developed with the club that there feels like there may still be one twist or turn in things, but it would be very difficult now to think of him in the same way and not see Isak as, you know, having pushed or whatever. And maybe Newcastle would accept him back. Maybe they consider it weathering a storm, whatever. But that's not what journalists are now saying. What I will say is, if we were skeptical about what journalists were saying before, do not take, just because you agree with it, what they're saying as read in this one. And it's why, frankly, I'm going to look at my phone here, I enjoy reading my comments section more often than I read a journalist's article. Let me just go through another Alexander Isak bid incoming, and it will be incoming. Last comment section. Liverpool are not getting Isak. Theory, Liverpool's medical was actually at Real Sociedad in order to keep it secret. Ooh, I like that theory. If Michael Edwards and his data team rates you, then he will get you no matter what. Van Dijk, Mane, Fabinho, Wirtz, and them man. This is a great way of putting it. And talking about a bid, I think it's more about fixed deposit this season rather than add-ons for Newcastle. Fair enough, they need the money up top. That's absolutely fair enough. I also think, you know, if we're talking about our next bid, we're probably looking at in the region of 120 plus add-ons. We'll get to 125 plus add-ons, and we'll probably see something triggered from there. If Sesko comes to Newcastle, I think Isak probably goes. Frankly, this week is huge for us. We've got the Community Shield at the end of the week. I cannot wait to see what happens after that. We need a centre-back more than a striker, to someone else, which I think is also a fair point, and we will talk about Liverpool's centre-back issue in the next couple of days. I'm more concerned about defensive depth as well. A lot of people saying this. A lot of people also talking about Harvey Elliott, because I mentioned him. And then there was a Newcastle fan. As an NUFC fan, I can't help but think he is being very badly advised, which, again, seems to be a position that a lot of people are taking, maybe because they feel their own club is not doing great. Not for wanting to go to Liverpool, because of the way he's doing it. Part of me still is sceptical about the way that he's doing it, in inverted commas, only because I don't think we've got 100% of the story right now. And maybe that's because I would prefer to believe that there is a nicer or a, you know, like a bad side to Newcastle that is forcing Isak away and we're just striking because the iron is hot. We know that there is a World Cup next summer, even though it's very unlikely that Sweden get to that World Cup in the first place because of Sweden's opening areas of the way they performed and how they're going to get on. But let's see. Not just with the fans, but I also think the players and staff and defo the manager. It's sad it did have to end like this. If he was respectful to the club, which, who knows, maybe he was, he would have got a hero's welcome back at St James's Park. For him, unfortunately, I think he will get booed. And therein lies the lesson, my friends. When you're lecturing Liverpool fans on booing, you never know when you're going to end up booing yourselves. If you're buying a house, you never give the asking price first. The same applies to this, absolutely. A lot of people in my comments calling us bin dippers. disappointed, especially considering the overall financial climate at the moment, how so many people are struggling. Have a word if you're calling people bin dippers. He's joining, but Newcastle are being funny about it because we've taken Hugo. I don't think Newcastle are even thinking about Hugo Ekitike now. And lots of other people obviously critiquing my the real use of Isak for views. I know I'm going to be outlier here, but hear me out. When it comes to transfers and dressing room cohesion, I prefer a player that doesn't go on strike. In addition, we need centre-backs more than Isak. I seem to remember Virgil going on a bit of a stinker to get to Liverpool. He was at Southampton at the time. If we don't get him now, we get him half price next year. I don't think we go for him next year, frankly, but let's see. There have been a lot of comments to that kind of end, should we say, down there in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And, where will we go in the next couple of days? There, of course, is a member section on this channel if you want to go join it. There is also, obviously, a Patreon. And, of course, there is a Super Chat. And there is also a Discord, which is absolutely free. Go and take a look at all of them. Get involved in the chat. Give your feedback. And, of course, some of it will end up on the channel. And just fueling the thoughts that come out of that group. Appreciate you guys. It looks like another bid is incoming, not only from Newcastle for Sesko, but also from Liverpool to Newcastle, and then, of course, from Al Hilal or AC Milan for Darwin Nunez. That is what we call, my friends, a buyer's chain. I will chat to you guys in a little while. Let me know what you're thinking about this, about everything that's going on at the club. If we go for anyone else in this window, and I will chat to you guys on the flip side. Much love. Bye-bye.